studio to talk about aggregation. So in order to do that, I have with me the Forest Park Environmental Program Manager, Wright Gwynn, and I have a consultant from Energy Alliances, Dan Dieters. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Mm-hmm.
And Forest Park has a particular reason to talk about aggregation right now, so we're going to get to it. But first, Dan, can you explain that word for us, aggregation?
Sure. Aggregation is basically started in the early 2000s in the state of Ohio with deregulation, which means folks can basically go out and buy energy from the lowest bidder, essentially. So communities put it on the ballot, they pass it on the ballot and say, yes, we want our government to go explore an aggregation program. In Forest Park, it passed in 2019, I believe.
Yeah.
And it passed on the ballot. We got the city certified with PUCO and started a first aggregation program in June of 2020.
Right.
Electric.
And so that, when that passed, it basically said to the city, you have permission to look for a group buy deal for our residents to get us a better deal. And the residents can decide if they want in on it.
Right.
Okay. I think that's important. Sometimes people don't understand what does that mean. Aggregation, it's just a group buy through your city, and you have the choice to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those two things are important to start with.
While people are automatically enrolled, you can always get out or get back into our programs.
Without any penalty.
Without any penalty, at no cost to the residents. So if you're looking at your bill and you have any questions, you can always call Wright or myself.
Excellent. And that choice and those decisions are really important. We're going to talk about those in a little bit more detail in a minute, just to make sure people know how that works. But we're going to talk about the gas aggregation today because Forest Park now has locked in a price. Dan, you found them a really good price for the gas aggregation so that can, but there's already an electric aggregation in place. So talk about how that has been going, right? Can you talk about how that got started? And
It's gone very well, better than I expected. It took us 3 times for the residents to give the city permission
okay.
to do an aggregation because you have to go out to the public. It's an initiative on the ballot, and they have to approve it. So it took 3 times. But when we did pass it and we got a consultant for the first time to help us through it, and we got a fixed rate price of 4.56 cents per kilowatt, which has been every month, except for maybe one, has been below what Duke Energy was charging their customers. And it's worked like a charm. So far, it's saved the community almost $600,000 as a community whole. Individually, a household has saved about $154 for doing really nothing, just being part of the program, which represents about 11% of their bill. And so, and it's a 3-year fixed rate, so it's going to go for another year. Dan and his group's going to be looking, beginning when, would you say?
We're already looking.
Already looking for next year to see what we can do for next year. And hopefully we'll have the same success that we've had before.
So a lot of the residents of Forest Park are already enjoying the benefits of the aggregation on the electric side.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been monitoring that, Dan, because you keep an eye on it. You don't
Sure.
just lock it in. You guys keep an eye on it. And what are you seeing in that program? What kind of participation level? And
But we're in about the 3,700 range of folks that, metered homes, apartments, things like that. So the participation is pretty good. I mean, it's 91% probably of all the homes. It's probably 94% of all the homes eligible. Wright said people saved $154 in the program. That's without July and August, so those numbers are probably significantly more because the price to compare we're probably in a 25 to 30% savings now because the price to compare has gone up a little bit. So the June, July, August. I don't have July, August in front of me because we don't get those numbers right away from the utility. So July and August, there'll be significantly more savings for each resident.
And those are really high electric months.
Those are the two
So
highest.
not only does the price to compare go up, but we're using more of it.
Yep.
Yeah, those are going to be, that's exciting to see when you hear about something that you didn't have to do anything for, but you got up to 25% off your electric bill. I think that's pretty nice of Forest Park to do that program.
And it's renewable.
Yes,
Yes.
it's wind power coming out of Wyoming, and you know the details of how that works and everything is
Right.
another program. But yes, we're subsidizing or helping pay for wind energy production.
That's right, because it was a savings, but one of the things early on that you wanted to incorporate in that is, can we still get a savings and make some good choices and be renewable? And you said, yeah, we could do that. So,
Right.
so that's good news too. So that's the electric aggregation. You were not able to lock in the gas one yet. Dan, what happened with that, and why are we locking it in now?
Well, in when we came back to the city early last year, the Duke gas cost recovery, which is kind of like a price to compare, it's not really a price to compare, was so low, we didn't want to go out to the market and put in a price that would have been higher than that particular price at the time, because we were letting folks ride with these really, really low prices in the market. And as we started to try to lock something down, the volatility in the long term really skyrocketed. So it was okay. I mean, we didn't really leave anybody high and dry for last year because the prices were pretty low comparative to what we could have bought. But now the price for next month is $1.21. So we've locked in at 83.9 cents per CCF.
nice.
So we expect that price to be fair, secure, and market competitive at least through this winter.
And of course, the things that made the prices volatile when they went from nice and low when you started looking were not things anyone could have expected. There were a lot of things happening in the world in the last couple of years.
A lot of production was reduced in the last 2 years. A lot of storage was depleted in the last 2 years. So when the demand goes up, you don't have the production you used to have, and you don't have the storage. Obviously, the volatility for the future is going to go through the roof, which is what really happened. There's a lot of political things around that have happened, and our job is to figure out the best way and the best rate to protect the residents from predatory suppliers, from variable rate programs, which would go into the $1.20s, $1.30s, $1.40s, and make sure that no matter what happens, the folks in Forest Park have a price they can always go back to, that they know is real, that they know is not going to change, and that they know has been, researched and put before them with a purpose.
So let's talk about this specific contract. This is with AEP, is where you found this deal. It's how long is this rate fixed, and what rate
2
have you
years.
fixed it? Okay.
And the rate is 83.9 cents a CCF.
Okay.
So it's a little bit more than, we've put out there in the past, but the market is considerably more than has been.
And right now,
available.
Duke is at $1 and
September will be
21
$1.21.
cents. Okay.
So we know September already because they have to publish those rates in advance. And the goal is to get through this year, get through this winter with a good rate. And then while we are locked for the following contract, there is an option to come back and blend it back in with a lower price if the market would have a significant drop in 24.
Well, that was my next question. That it's locked in before winter. That's exciting.
Yep.
And we're seeing that volatility. So having it locked in at 83 cents is great. And but the next question is, but what if it goes down? Everybody kind of worries about missing
Sure,
that.
but and that's okay, and that's why we let folks out of the program for no fee at any time. So if something would happen, they could say, you know what, I think there's a better deal here. We only have to basically get through the winter time, March, okay? Because 85% of your usage comes between November and the end of March.
And that's because of heating.
It's because of heating, but folks with pools and things like that,
Yeah.
they use a little bit more in the summertime. But in the summertime, I personally might use $1.60 worth of this in any of the 3 months. So we're not super concerned with the summer months, because even if it's a big difference with, the Duke GCR, it'll be less than $1.
So the main thing is, when you're high usage,
You
get
got
the
to have
lowest
something
price locked in.
secure. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, and something secure, something that doesn't just look like it's low for 1 month, but in the middle of February when you're having ice outside, that suddenly it jumps. So that's,
And it's important to remember that the Duke GCR is variable.
yeah,
If you're using just with the Duke, whatever Duke provides for you, that is going to be a variable price. It's different every month, and there's something to be said for knowing what your numbers are going to be every year for budgeting and things like that. And this doesn't change even billing at all. So folks that have even billing in their home, the adjustments will be made through the normal course that Duke does that. But this doesn't change any of the services, any of the even billing. If you have an issue at home where your power goes out or you have a gas leak, you still call the utility. So nothing changes with these programs.
and I think that's the next thing I want to talk about is we talked about what it looks like from the industry end and picking these prices and trying to make sure that you've got something secure. And I want to talk about what it looks like from the resident side. What will they see? What will they not see? What will not change? And that's the first thing, is that you still get a bill from Duke.
Right, it's basically the same. The Duke bill looks the same. There will be just another line down there of who your supplier will be. For electricity, it's Constellation. They're the generator that generates electricity. Of course, you still have to pay Duke for the poles, the transformers, the wires to get the energy to the house. But Constellation is the one that generates the electricity to go through those things. The same thing for gas. We will now have a AEP energy company that will be on the bill. It just says this is what it's going to cost for the gas. You still got to pay for the pipes. You still got to pay Duke Energy for that thing to get it to the house. But these are the people that are providing or generating or producing the energy.
The way residents will see this gas aggregation getting implemented is they're going to get a letter in September. So let's talk about that letter.
Okay.
It's I saw some of them hit today, actually.
Really?
Okay.
They're already out, so we
All
need
right.
to get this
yeah,
out as soon as
this
we
is-
can.
This is the 30th, so.
All right, you're on
So
it.
I saw some of them hit today, because I had a couple of questions from some folks. So they'll see the letter. If they want to participate, of course, they do nothing. They'll know the letter because it'll have Forest Park's logo on it, along with AEP's.
Right.
And
On the letter and the envelope.
on the letter and the envelope, I saw the envelope that has the Forest Park logo. They don't have to do anything if they want to participate. And there's an opt-out period that's going to go on for 28 days. There's 20. I think it's 20. Might be
21,
21 to
28,
28
yeah.
days.
Okay.
Through this first part of September, and at the end of that opt-out period, folks will be swept into the program. They can always opt out at any time. Now, even though the state of Ohio says you only have 21 or 28, whatever we set the opt-out at, I have to check it. I think it was 21. Even though the state of Ohio says there's 21 days, Energy Alliance's programs all allow you, as always, to get out anytime and even come back in at any time. So, and without any fees at all. So that's what folks are going to see. And then in October or November, probably the November bill, you'll see the change to AEP in the gas section from the GCR.
Now, if they do want to opt out, there is a form on the bottom of the letter that they can fill out and send in. And there's also a phone number that they can call.
Yep.
To just say, I don't want to be a part of this. And that's all they have to do. So it's right there when they get in the mail, they can decide what they want to do.
Now, some people are going to say, I didn't get a letter. There's people that won't get that letter to be part of the aggregation. Dan, do you want to talk about who's not in that list of qualified households?
Sure. The folks that will not get letters are either with a third-party supplier already. They'll be, if they're enrolled somehow in the PIP program, they will not get letters at that point. And then if there aren't, so if you opt out of the program this time, and their program turns over, you won't get a letter again, but the first time you will get a letter. So, so if you opted out of the electric program, you're going to get a letter for this because it's two different suppliers. They don't have any access to the folks that opted out of the electric program. And if you opted out of the electric program, it looks like it costs you about $155.
Okay.
Now, the PIP
know.
program, you might want to explain what the PIP program is, because
So,
a lot of people don't know.
It's a Duke subsidy program where folks enroll and it's a percentage of their income and they pay less of a bill, and it's being subsidized through state of Ohio and the.
So it's an
utility.
assistance program.
Yeah, it's an
Exactly.
assistance program.
And if you're on that, you know you're on that.
Yeah.
So
Right.
if you're on that PIP program, you're not going to get the letter.
Right.
'Cause you're already getting assistance, so you won't get the aggregation. I don't think there will be anyone who has opted out of this before because it's the first time,
Yeah.
so there won't be any on that list.
Correct.
But if you are already getting your gas from someplace besides Duke, if you got a phone call from someone and they said it was a good deal, there's a million reasons. If you're not sure, you can look at your bill and you can look at the gas section and see if it's coming from someone.
And those folks will not get a letter. And those folks are encouraged to, they could be in a great program that they got in a year and a half or 2
Right, at
years
the
ago.
right time.
I would encourage those people to read what they have, understand what they have, and not get into the program. But when it's time for them to renew, they need to do a little research, and they can take advantage of the program, of the new program at that time. If their old program, if it's down in 30 to 40 to 50 cent range, that it's a couple years old, stick with it. Don't get in this program. Wait until your other program ends. You see the offer that you get, and then if you think, oh, that's not as good as the Forest Park program offer, you can always call and we'll enroll you.
That's a really good point, because if they were able to lock in at that little window, they might be in something really great. If they didn't lock in that little window, they might say, hey, the aggregation looks better than what I've got. In that case, they still need to look at what they're signed up for, because it may have a fee to leave early. Either way, they may need to find out how many months they have left before they can decide if they want to go to the aggregation.
There's going to be a fee to leave those early. The gas program, there's almost always a fee to leave those early because they have to purchase that gas for you. So they've made an investment. Maybe not so much now because they could probably go out and sell that gas that they bought for you for a lot more right now. So, they might encourage you to leave early. but the bottom line is this, is if you're with a third party, if you're curious about it, and you're probably gonna put the numbers up here.
Absolutely.
Give us a call. We'll help you read your bill. We'll help you understand what it all means. And they're confusing. The bills are confusing. And a lot of folks will call me and they'll say, okay, it says this, but the price is this. And I'm like, well, there's a lot of other factors in that price. A lot of times folks will say, why do I want Forest Park's program? It's 4.57 cents on electric when Duke's price is 3.1 cents. Well, the 3.1 cents is the delivery. Everybody gets that.
Yeah.
And it's hard. They make it hard to,
That's
I mean,
not the
it's
supply,
not,
yeah.
the bills have not gotten super easy to read. So.
No, and we did a program one time where we went line by line, and we won't do that today. But I think the bottom line is, if you're looking at your energy bill and you're not sure what you're looking at, call Wright.
Yeah.
Sorry, Wright. I'm just going to throw you.
No, that's
Call
good.
Wright,
That's good.
because if you live in Forest Park and he's working on this program to make it something accessible to you, and if Wright gets stuck, he'll call Dan.
Right.
So he's not just gonna guess. But if you're not sure what you're looking at, just know that the city of Forest Park has set up some places for you to get help with that and not have to guess.
Right, and the electric aggregation program that we put together is a great example, because when we first started it, people were calling me up saying, well, tell me about this program, and I said, well, what are you paying for it? And so we have to find it on the bill, and the worst case I had to work with was a lady who was paying 12 cents per kilowatt hour. And we were paying, the hour rates were 4.5, a third of that. And I was going, who do you have? And she had signed up somehow. She didn't remember. and a lot of people don't remember. And so we went through the process of, call them, find out what the fee is. Is it worth getting out now? Is the contract about ready to end? If so, just write it out and then move in so you don't have to pay the fee and everything. And she moved into our program and saved, quite a bit of money on that. And the same thing's going to happen with the natural gas.
Yeah.
People don't understand it completely. Nobody understands it completely. Even the experts don't understand it completely, I don't think. And so we've got a good team together, I think, that we can, if I don't know, I will pass it to Dan. If Dan doesn't know, he'll pass it to Rich, and then all three of us will get together and we'll make sure that we get it right.
So a lot of times you're getting these calls on your cell phone, and the first question I'll ask them is, what is your rate? Because they want to tell you about how it's stable, it's locked in, it's fixed, it's renewable, we can help you. Well, you already have that in Forest Park. So what I always do is I say, okay, what's your rate? And they'll say, oh, it's 8 cents a kilowatt hour. And I'll tell them that's 2 cents above the utilities rate. What are you doing? And they never have an answer for that. Then they say, well, what about your gas? And they'll be, oh, that's $1.10, but it's fixed. And that's a big deal that it's fixed at $1.10 for those folks. And they'll even tell you that that's renewable. And there's no renewable. There are renewable gas products out there, but they're not selling it over the phone on your cell phone.
Okay.
So if you get a call on your cell phone from any of these folks, just hang up.
And I think that's where I want to make sure that before we get any further, you talked about people that don't even realize they're in another program. And I think that's the next thing we need to talk about. This is one of the ways that happens is as soon as PUCO listen and aggregation is about to go out. Me letters are going to go out. They're already going out. You said you're getting calls. All the other suppliers now have a call list. They're all gonna send you letters, and they're gonna tell you they're from Duke, and they're gonna tell you all kinds of stuff. What are some things that residents can look out for to make sure they don't accidentally wind up in another one that they didn't choose? If they chose one, that's fine, but you don't want to be in one you didn't pick.
Forest Park's logo.
So that's the key. If you get a letter and it doesn't have Forest Park's logo on it,
Be very suspicious.
stick in the recycle bin.
Right.
If it's not from AEP and it has Forest Park's logo on it, contact us immediately.
Right.
Yeah, they still want to know that. Yeah. Who else is putting Forest Park's logo?
Exactly.
It should have Forest Park and AEP.
Yeah.
Those are the two that should be there.
Right, on both, the envelope
it has it right next-
and the letter.
The two logos sit right next to each other in the window of the address, of your address. So you'll know immediately.
Right there. It's not hidden somewhere.
Nope. Nope.
And I think the other thing I'll mention, just because I recently had a visit at my house, is they, whether it's on the phone or at your door, they want to see your bill or hear your account number so badly. You never need that, right?
No one from Energy Alliances, AEP may ask you if you're trying to enroll in the program what your account number is. They'll need that. And no one from Forest Park is ever going to ask you what your account number is unless you call them and have some issue with your bill. Because if you're trying to enroll, I do need your account number, and you're with a third party. I mean, I'm going to have to ask for it. We're not going to share it with anybody. We're not going to do anything with it. All we're going to do, and you'll get, generally what I do is I'll get it. I'll ask folks to email me a copy of their bill, and I'll send it to the supplier, and they'll get an email confirmation from the supplier that they're enrolled in the program, along with me. So we start a little email chain, and then that's how we do it. But the problem with showing somebody your account number that you're not sure who it is, or giving them your bill, is they can enroll you without your permission. It's pretty easy to do.
They just need that number.
Yep.
So if someone comes to your door, or if someone calls you on the phone and you didn't call them, probably a good idea to not give them your account number.
If somebody comes to your door, physically comes to your door, they have to be vetted by the city of Forest Park first to be able to solicit in the community. And if they have been vetted, they should have a tag with their name on it and the company name stating that this is who they are, and it shows that they have been vetted. If they do not have a tag, if they don't have any kind of ID on them, and they're just knocking on the door saying, I've got a great deal for you, they haven't gone through the process, I wouldn't trust them. And I would just say, I think you need to leave, close the door, and then call the city, the police department, or they can call me or whatever, and we will try to catch them and say, this is not right.
Because I'll just point out, you can't go door to door in Forest Park without going to get a permit first.
Right.
So they have to have that permit regardless of what else they have.
To go door to door, they need to go through us.
That's key.
And if they say they're from Duke and they want your account number, why would somebody from Duke need your account number? They gave it to you.
Right.
They have all the account numbers. They just changed everybody's account number in March. So,
And Duke has name recognition.
Yeah.
So I find that the most often they'll say, I'm calling from Duke.
yeah.
Duke does not need your account number. So don't give them your account number. The only time you need it is if they called you and they know that they called you to ask about the program, and then you might need it just to help them figure out what they're doing.
If you called us,
Yeah.
maybe
Exactly.
we'll need it.
Right,
Maybe.
maybe. A couple of times I've had to go back and ask for it. And then when they give it to me, I say, you shouldn't be giving this out. Don't give it out to anybody
So what
that
you're
you don't
saying
know.
is it's a test. You're
Yeah,
testing
it was,
them
it was
right.
kind of a semi-test.
The
It's a
problem
test.
is that one of the big problems is that Duke did just change their account numbers. So
Okay.
it's hard. If you call Duke, they're not going to ask for your account number. They're going to ask for your address,
Sure.
and then they're going to tell you who the billed individual is, and that they don't need any of that. They have it all. So,
Okay.
and Duke will not change you. Duke will not put you into this program either.
Right.
You have to call us.
Okay.
When the time comes.
So that's the thing I wanted to make sure we hit, because whether or not you choose to be part of the aggregation or not, I think it helps to be aware that there are some folks trying to get you into their program, and they don't care if you know that
Right.
you're getting into it or not.
And they
So
will
that's
sa-
good to know.
And it will sound so good.
It will sound, so let's just talk briefly then, what's gonna happen with this gas aggregation. The letters have already gone out.
Well, they're
Yep.
going out
They'll
probably through.
They'll be hitting in the next week.
Yeah, right.
So they're going out in batches.
By the time they hear this, probably the letters are already out.
Okay. And then what do they need to do when they get that letter?
Read it. I recommend that they read it.
Okay.
Yep.
And then compare their bill with what is in the letter, and then see it, and then check the rates, try to understand, and if they have any questions before they make a decision, feel free to give us a call. But if they did get a letter, that means they will be opted in if they don't do anything. So we want to make sure that they understand what the letter's all about and how you can compare with what they have already.
And I think the people that either don't get a letter, or who lost our letter, or whose letter accidentally wound up in the recycle bin because it looked like something else, those may be the people you get the most questions from. So let's make sure we give them a phone number to call if they didn't give a letter, because they don't have the letter with the phone number on it.
Yep.
Should they call you right first?
That's fine. A lot of people know me already, so
Okay.
they're
Okay.
free to give me a call.
And what's important here is that Wright is your local, in the municipal building, Wright and Forest Park contact.
Right.
And you're specifically working on this program. But also, Dan, you are too. You're working really closely on this program, and you know exactly what questions people have.
Yep.
So, so they can call Energy Alliance too.
Sure.
Okay. That's fantastic. Is there anything else you want to make sure people know about this? Dan, you probably get a lot of specific questions over and over again.
People just need to understand that these programs, like the electric program and the gas program, are set up to protect you from volatile energy prices, and you just can't take 1 month out of the contract and say, oh, it didn't do well 1 month, but in the other month it was great. So I always say, you can't take a Polaroid, you got to watch the movie on these things. So before you make any rash decisions about jumping out of the program, you got to see kind of where pricing is.
Yeah.
If you want to get out, give somebody a call. And I'll be the first person to tell you, if you call me up and say, hey, I got this offer in the mail, here's what it is, I'll say, send it to me. And I'll say, it's a better deal if it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not gonna, there's just so many, like Wright said before, there's so many gotchas in these offers, you got to be really, really careful. There are no gotchas in our programs. You can come and go as you please, as I've said before, and
With no penalty.
with no penalty at any time, and we don't just roll you into something at some period without your knowledge, without rights knowledge, without the Council of Forest Parks knowledge. When you get into one of these other offers at the end of the contract term, they're just going to roll you into something. You got to be really, really careful, because what you'll see are offers that come out right now in August that are 3-month deals, and they might charge you 40 cents or something, or 45 cents a CCF. And in 3 months, you jump to a variable rate, and it's going to be $2 or $3.
And
And it's in
cold.
January, and
Yes.
it'll be in January. They do this for a reason. They do these 3-month offers for a reason around this time of year. So you got to really watch it. So,
And there'll be a high fee to get out of it.
and there'll be a high fee to get out of it.
Yeah, so, and I think what I want to make sure residents know is that this is something that your city has worked on this contract with Energy Alliance to make sure you guys are getting. This is your city, they know that they want you to be happy with it. So making sure that you get something that is the most helpful, the most stable, that will, like you said, carry you through the winter without any sudden jumps is key on that.
And the residents are in the driver's seat.
Right.
They can
Right.
do anything they want.
They've got choices, and that's what we wanted, but through this whole year and a half, looking at gas prices, trying to catch up with them as they kept going higher and higher and higher, we were afraid that this winter, especially when you read about energy rates and natural gas and what's happening in Europe and things like that, there's no telling what's going to happen. So having a ceiling at 83 cents, I think is a good ceiling. It's a safe ceiling and a very secure ceiling. And I think people can budget for that and knowing that it's not going to go any higher.
Well, I appreciate both of you coming in to explain this. I know that there are lots of ins and outs, so we could talk about this longer.
Right.
But I just want to make sure the residents know that this is coming and that they can ask you if they have questions. If there's nothing else they get, I feel like that's the main thing. Thanks so much for joining, and thank you for watching. That means you will be all ready to know what to do when you get your aggregation letter in the mail.